Hey everybody, welcome back to the VIP Financial Ed channel. This is a new series that we're launching called Investor Highs and Lows. If you're new here to the VIP Financial Ed curriculum, we talk all things banking, borrowing, and cash flow related, where you can end up with as much money left over at the end of the month as you can possibly imagine. And it is a gradual, consistent process. It's highly methodical. We use a whole collection of strategies and techniques, and we bring in experts to help share ways to do that. And in this series, I want to introduce stories from people who have been in the business a long time and have the bumps and bruises to prove it, right? So one of the things that I've always talked about, which we hear about often through mentors and coaches and gurus all over YouTube and elsewhere, is the idea of failing forward. And that the failures we experience by attempting things that pull us out of our comfort zones can often become the very lessons that earn us the most over time and help us prevent making the same mistakes more than once. But if you can have somebody navigate with you and put you in a position to avoid some of the really heavy duty mistakes, obviously that's a much better direction to go. So we're going to start bringing in, every time we have a conversation with another expert, somebody who's achieved extraordinary success, we want to hear about it. We want to hear about one of the highs and one of the lows. So let's start with the highs today. Give me an example of somebody that accomplished something really remarkable and that you had the opportunity to work alongside. And tell me one of your own personal stories where you really came out accomplishing above and beyond. I'm curious to know what that's been for you.
Well, I've got two really good client stories on both sides of that. For the high, I think all of us have had something traumatic happen to us, right? Been into an accident, get into a divorce, right? Business blows up, something like that. In this case, it was a divorce. I had a client that she had a hole in her resume for about 12 years because all she did was take care of a 9 and a 10 or 10 and a half year old boy and girl, and ended up getting dropped on her can by her husband. It was a situation gone bad. They're not gonna, it's done, right? And there was other things behind it. You know, he's cheating on her. She's knowing about it. Now they're going to get a divorce, and he's got the money. He always knew where all the finances were. He knew where all the cash was. He was putting stuff away in places where she didn't know. So he goes and gets the very best attorneys and goes to war against her. Okay? So she doesn't have anything. She's going to one of these groups where they provide her an attorney for single moms and things of that nature, and goes out there, and of course, who wins this battle? He does, right? But one of the things that she does get out of it is she was able to put a little bit of money, about $56,000 away over this course of time into a Roth IRA. And so she's able to get the withdrawals out. So she's able to take it, and this is really the only money that she has to her name, okay? She brings it to us and she says, look, I can't really afford to pay you to do anything right now. This is really all I have in my name. Nobody will hire me because I have this 12-year gap in my resume, and house mom doesn't bode well with the working community, right? So what can I do so that I can stay at home with my kids and be able to make money? Now, at this time, there was a lot of these HOA, homeowners association liens on properties, and a lot of these people that weren't paying their property taxes that were letting these houses go dormant. And so what she was able to do is negotiate with a couple of these different HOAs. We got her in, got her talking, told her situation. She happened to be in one of these communities and started talking to them and saying, look, well, I'll fix up the grass, I'll do this, all that, I'll take over the lien, and I'll take care of it. And so she would go down there, she would take this penalty that they had on the property for, say, like $25,000, and she would buy it up for a few $1,000 and put a couple grand into the property, get it right, everything. When you have a lien against the property, it's very hard to sell, so she'd make it right. And then what she would do is she would attach it to the property, and she would tag that interest where you go and file for your lien against the property at the county recorder office. And so she'd put it out there. And then what happened is when somebody went and bought the property, they had to buy the lien and pay the interest.
Interesting.
And this is when the properties were getting ready to come back up, so the investors are buying. So she kept turning it. And what she did was she took some change out of that $56,000 went and bought enough of these that she did $83,000 her first year.
Wow.
So single mom, living at home, got to stay with her kids, no idea what she's going to do, who she's going to be, what her next phase is. And then I know that she did even better the next year. We got a great thank you card. She bought me the most ugliest tie on the planet because I would laugh about people wearing ugly ties. But I thought it was great. I thought that was a great story of somebody that just got dropped on their keister, affected by, domestic violence, doesn't have a clue where they're going to be tomorrow, having to build from really nothing. And even though we really couldn't do a whole lot for her, it was nice to be able to point her into the right direction and have her kind of grab that thing and run for it. So I would say that was probably, and it made you feel good. You know what I mean? It made you feel good to do it. Horror story. I can distinctly remember my favorite horror story because I talk about it often. I know you've done this when we go and talk to people. You get somebody that just knows everything, right? Or they want to milk you for enough information because they're going to go, they think that they can be you, right? Because you gave them a little bit, they can go clone and do what you do, right?
You give them everything.
Right.
That's enough to do it all.
Right. That they're going to go take what you gave and then they're going to be MacGyver, right? So I had this gentleman, so to speak, that came to an event, came and took us up on a consultation, and we were talking about self-directed retirement accounts. And for you that don't know out there, rather than do a qualified IRA or 401k through a business, you can do it on your own, and you can use it instead of buying just conventional stocks, bonds, or mutual funds. You can use it to buy real estate or liens, like what we were talking about, or hard money loan from it, or any number of alternative investments. So there are rules to it, okay? It's not this bing bang bong stuff, right? But there are companies out there that are custodians that are set up for people to come in and use them like a professional butler, to go get set up. So they're available to everybody. In fact, they're what we use because it's not the secret sauce. The secret sauce is not to know where to go. Mm-hmm. I mean, you go there, right? And they're going to treat you like anybody else. They're going to set up the account. That's only where it starts, right? Then the rules kick in on what you can and cannot do with the money and how you do the transaction and how you paper up your contracts, the whole 9 yards. So we had spoke to this individual. We had told him what the penalties and fines could be. He knew everything. He was going to get it done. And after all, he's just going to go ask the custodian, right? They're going to tell him everything. And I said,
sure, yeah, he feels he can just cut you out,
right,
the middleman.
Right. I mean, why would I want to pay you a couple bucks when I can just go do it on my own, right? So he doesn't realize that a custodian can't give you legal advice, financial advice, tax advice. They can't govern you through investments. They can't say, oh, yeah, or that's wrong. They don't have their own people. They just simply, you tell them what to do. They're like a professional butler.
They just facilitate.
Yeah, Johnny, go get me a soda. They're going to go get a soda. It doesn't matter if there's poison in the soda. Johnny's going to bring you a soda, right? Now, here's the big thing. He goes out and does this transaction. He has a little bit over $800,000. So what happens is he goes and does a transaction, but the IRS catches him because he does a prohibited transaction. Now, this is what happens when you get caught in a prohibited transaction, meaning he didn't do his paperwork right and he failed to meet the compliance rules, which when he came to us is what we were going to be responsible for. Mm-hmm. He's taken upon himself. So now what the IRS says is, you are going to take 50% of your money as a fine. So now he's gone from $800,000 down to $400,000 as a fine, okay? Because they're really, really strict about this stuff. Then the other $400,000 the IRS says, now you need to take those on your schedules as ordinary income. So now he has to pay tax on his retirement account
on the remaining 400,
and he's got on the remaining 400 that he's going to add to the income that he made that year. So he's going to maybe put himself at a higher bracket, but if nothing else, he's going to pay a high bracket on a larger sum of money. And granted, this was just his retirement money, right? So oddly enough, about 16 weeks later, I think it is, he wants to request a meeting, and I thought this was really odd. But he comes back to us, and his opening statement is, Nick, what can I do with a couple $100,000? And I said to him, what happened to the $800,000? And that was the story, guys. I mean, that's what happened. And so, of course, after all this experience and all this pain and having to learn on his own dime, instead of paying people that have already figured this stuff out for you, that are professionals and things, that are trying to guide and govern you so that you don't hit these pitfalls, he went to take it upon himself to go do this. It was a disaster. But the better side of the story is we got him going, and of course he had to play catch up. But, you know, it's unfortunate people that think that they know everything or they want to work around a professional. And what I just say to that, Matt, is look, for you out there that have a car, your car breaks down, right? I mean, I guess I could fix my car myself, right? I can go get my tools, go rent a bay, go get ACE certified, and I can fix it.
Watch a bunch of YouTube videos.
Right, watch a bunch of YouTube videos and whatever. But that's not what I do. I mean, that's why I pay a mechanic to go do it. So you have to decide, do you want to do what you do? Do you want to be all things to all people? Or do you want to get paid to do what you do? Do you want to be working in your business and working on your investment strategy? Or do you want to be sitting there going, and every time something comes up that's going to cost you money, you got to go learn and know everything about it. At the end of the day, it's going to be very expensive and costly. And
not to mention slow, guys. I mean, listen, you cannot come anywhere close to accomplishing the very same thing on your own as you can with the right team. It does not have to be either one of us. But you'll hear this theme in our video trainings, because if I could give one piece of advice above all others that I teach on this channel, which the channel is primarily related to banking and borrowing strategies, my advice would be to have a great team. It has nothing to do with banking and borrowing. So the idea here is align yourself with the people who have accomplished what you want to achieve, and not people who come to you and offer their opinions who aren't necessarily accomplished, right? Because it's easy to take relationship advice from your uncle who's been divorced a few times.
The best thing we can teach you is from our mistakes. I mean, that's the best things that I've ever learned, is when I've done something and I can teach my clients. What
was your biggest mistake professionally or in investing?
Well, I think my biggest mistake in investing is when I knew that houses didn't double every 6 months. And you remember that whole heyday where the properties were doubling, you know, and they were telling you to take the cash out. One of the things that I did was I bought a property, and I knew that I was going to strip the cash out to go buy the other properties, to go parlay it. But I knew what I was doing. But in hindsight, I didn't have to move that fast, and I always had this dog kind of chasing me. I would have liked it if I didn't, you know, pick up that debt that I knew that I was going to have to take from the good stuff and feed into the bad stuff eventually to make it right. But I would say that was a big mistake. Another big mistake that I've run into is going out there in the professional field and picking somebody that was a self-proclaimed guru that knew everything and was supposedly so great, had really never made, and that's why I talk about it, never made $1 million in his lifetime, never had $1 million, never made $1 million, telling me how to become a millionaire. And you go and you see this guy, and it's kind of like Oz, right? You pull back the curtain, and there's this guy, little guy pulling the strings, right?
Let me ask you a question then. How do you get around somebody portraying themselves, almost that peacocking, right? Because there are so many educators that talk about faking it until you make it, right? So you're going to run into these professionals who haven't accomplished something real. How do you get around the fakes?
I will show you some things that, you know, spending some time with them will do that, asking the right questions. But I will tell you my hot hits. Anybody that starts taking pictures in front of a fancy boat or a fancy car or coming out of an airplane, a private plane or something like that, run. Because if the guys that I know that are making it, they don't want everybody knowing their assets.
I don't know anybody that does that.
That's something that I run away from. And I believe in wholeheartedly in religion and beliefs. Whatever your faith is, whatever your belief is great. But when somebody is punching out the Jesus, the Bible thumper, and punching out, and that's why they're doing it. Look, because I truly believe, and I hope that you watching this are not offended by this and you fall into what I'm saying is, your belief is your belief, and if it's your belief, it governs what it is that you do. And so you don't need to put it out there. People should see that you are a good Christian or a good Muslim or a good Jew or whatever it is that you believe by how you act and by how you treat people, by how you conduct yourself in business. not telling somebody how good you are or that you're a believer doesn't make you right, doesn't make you any better. Showing what your character is by doing what you say, saying what you mean, being on time, treating everybody, whether they're the poorest of the person or the richest of the person, the same. I think that's important. And I suggest that, regardless of whomever you use, you can learn a lot about people by watching how people treat other people and how they act. And I can tell you one thing that's very important to me is time. The time is the one commodity that we can never get back. So when somebody is late, I will not be late on a phone call. I will not be late on...
We just talked about this in we released 2 recent videos talking about how substantial time is and what it means.
Yeah, and it may happen. Like, stuff happens. I mean, just the other day I was behind somebody. Couldn't help it. I got behind a wreck. But you got to believe I am on the phone. I am so sorry. I am calling you. I am 20 minutes behind. I'm going to be right here. I'm on such and such a street. And that is a rarity. People do it. There is no fashionably late. There's fashionably rude. Okay? Your time is the commodity you can never get back. Treat people as you would want to be treated. Be on time. Say what you mean. Do what you say.
I feel that old-fashioned professionalism is diminishing, and it's something that I have a really high level of appreciation.
And your word, right? I mean, I have people that have done stuff with me in the past, and we have a contract to do that, and they need something to get done, and I've handshaken them on the phone. Hey, I'm going to go spend all this money for something for you. I'm not going to take the time to append this contract, but you owe me blah, 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 and I keep my word and get it done, and they keep their word that they're going to pay me. I mean, that's building relationships, guys, and don't feel that you have to go so broad with your relationships. You need this core team. I don't have a lot of friends that I call my friends. I have a lot of acquaintances. But when you go and build a team or you call people friends, make them earn that title. It's not just somebody that's there, but somebody that has a mutual... you don't want a leech. You want a friend. You want a mutually beneficial...
Mutual exchange of value.
That's right.
Is a topic that we've brought onto this channel. That was actually introduced to me for the first time about 18 months ago from the love of my life, my partner, Kellyanne Zielinski. She's the founder of Self Leadership Global, talks all the time about mutual exchange of value. I think that's a really terrific tip for people as well.
And listen to yourself. Matt, one last thing, listen to yourself. I know how many times I have had that little voice saying there's something just not right here. And you love it. You love everything about it, right? But there's just something telling you, right? Listen to that little voice. Not at a 10 times. Not at a 10 times it's right, right? You might have been out. Okay, well, you missed it. But that little voice, I can't tell you how many times I've regretted that little bit of discernment that you just know something's not there. And you pay for it, man. You pay for it.
You almost always do pay for it. Well, I appreciate everything you do for us. Nick will almost always prioritize our audience members. Aside from his travels, he's very punctual, and we just don't have complaints about the guy. It's incredibly rare, always surprising, and we talk about it every single time. And your constructive feedback is always really beneficial for us both. We do take it seriously, and we know we're not all things to all people. We know that not everybody is a fit for either of our solutions or systems. It's taken us a long time to build these, and we target specific individuals who are the perfect fit before we move forward in any type of a partnership. So guys, I really, really want to say thank you again for all of your time. Thank you for your time. Hopefully some of you are getting something from videos like this on this highs and lows series. We're going to keep coming out with them as we have conversations with those around us who are achieving the highest level of success. We want to hear about it. So hopefully you guys will be able to walk away with something. Go ahead and smash that thumbs up button if you like these types of topics and want us to do more of them. Otherwise, at least be sure to consider subscribing to the channel and turn on the bell notification to be the first alerted every time we drop new information so that you can join the Cash Flower community as well. Until we see you on our next video, make it a great day today and take awesome care.